Okay, it's 5:30. We'll call to order the City Council Public Working Meeting this evening for July 21st at 5:30 p.m. I would like to make a motion to suspend the regular rules for this evening's meeting. And I need a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
And then a second motion to edit the rules for this evening's meeting. We'll move public comment to the end. That way Clint from IDEM has a chance to present detail. And I need a vote for that too, please. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, motion carries. So tonight we brought back Clint from IDEM. And we wanted to start the meeting because of the concern for water quality safety in Alexandria. So the utility office, the water department has been conducting some testing. And in your booklet is some sites as well as the dates and then the results of those. So I'd like to go over those new to all of us as of this evening. So on July 2nd, the regular BACT samples for IDEM for monthly testing were collected from the Alexandria Care Center, the wastewater treatment plant, Emory Lee Building, the Alexandria City Hall, Alexandria Utility Office, and a residence at 608 West Jackson Street. And those were all negative. So then skip to the BACT samples that were collected on July 9th of 2025 at the Alexandria Fire Department, Save on Liquor, Casey's, Alexandria High School Cafeteria, and then Azamo and Culbertson's on Curve Street. And we have those results as well. And those all tested satisfactory. So then on July 15th, 5 more additional tests were performed at Alexandria Intermediate School, Humphreys Automotive at 1004 South Park Avenue, St. Mary's School, Subway, and then a resident who had contacted the city with concerns because her neighbors had done some home tests that showed as containing E. coli. So she lives at 903 Meadow Lane, and her facility, her residence was tested, and those water test results being absent or negative for E. coli or bacteria. So all of those tests and samples you can see here is part of the detail that Mark has collected from the utility office. And so he just wanted us to be aware of these additional tests that have been done. And then if we could maybe speak to the reason why. I know you spoke to like laterals and things like that. So you were trying to capture schools and things like that.
The first 6 are required by the state of Indiana. So the second set, the second 5 would be, I did Save on Liquors because that's kind of where this originated, was the Addison home, which the same main feeds that in that area right there. So that's why I wanted to go there, the high school cafeteria, because there was comments about the schools being tested. So we did the high school cafeteria at Burton, number 1 Burton Court. I went the same line that feeds coming off of Harrison Street from the fire department that runs west down Berry Street. Would be the fire department, it would be Azamo and Culbertson's, would take in everything from Harrison Street running west. Once you cross over the railroad tracks at Azamo and Culbertson's, there's a fire hydrant on the corner of Central, and everything feeds into Riverview. So that takes everything into account, basically east and west on Berry Street between Harrison and Central. those are all random sites, random choices. The school was a definite because of the comments of the school system. So I went 1 week later, the intermediate school, which is the furthest building to the south of the cafeteria. I had Charlie Peebler take me into the break room there. So both ends of the whole entire property have been sampled. I chose Casey's because of public interest, because of the location. Humphreys, because on 6th Street, Humphreys begins on 9, it runs west down 6th Street, which would take in the school system that feeds off Meadow Lane, also does Humphreys. And then a week ago today, the mayor's office contacted me. Had a message from 903 Meadow Lane, one of the Patriot residents. And she had spoke to her neighbors had spoke to her, or they had had a conversation. The neighbor informed her that her water contained E. coli. She was kind of panicked, frantic about it. And I thought this is really a great opportunity because the same line that feeds her is the same main that runs west and then runs up Meadow Lane to the school. And she tested negative. Then I wanted to just toss in St. Mary's because it is a school system. It's not, I mean, they're not really tied together with Alexandria community, but it is a school system. So that's why I chose that. And then I just went up north, went up 9. I was trying to decide which one in that area. I just chose Subway. And the manager was very polite, very nice about that. No issues there. The liquor store, like I said, when I did Save On Liquors, was the line that is basically the same main service line that feeds that feeds the Aaron Addison or whatever the name. And to come to find out, the lady that let me take the sample there is her mother. And all these people have had the results returned to them and delivered.
So Clint will follow up with you, representing IDEM this evening. What kind of additional information can you provide us regarding chlorine in the water, regular testing, and results of chlorine readings?
So chlorine is the method of treatment for the water system. So you're bringing in water from the well, right? It's coming in through filters. Then it's getting injected with chlorine. That chlorine level from the injection site has to get reported at that site. Those get documented on your MROs. And again, once you inject it, then when you're taking the residuals, right, you're seeing a free available and a total. All right, so free is, in layman's terms, the easiest way to explain it is if it's a free available, that is what's left after treatment, right? That's what's left after the water has been treated or it has touched some sort of, bacteria in the water. And then you have your total, which is just a combined of what is there and what's being treated. I hope that makes sense. But that number's on a spectrum, right? So you've got a 5 is the highest, or 4 is the highest, that is the maximum level. And then you have 10.2. Those are your parameters. And then that's really, you're taking your residuals through the distribution, and that's really it. So I know some people get confused that chlorine is what is used to treat the water. You want to have within that spectrum, that range throughout your distribution, because that's what's going to be fighting off the bacteria or E. coli in the system. So, and those guidelines are set by the EPA, not us. We just make sure that everybody's fine. And those all get charted and reported daily. And then after the municipality, at the end of the month, they have until the 10th to send us those reports, and then we review the reports for the daily residuals. Kind of the easiest breakdown of how the water is treated with chlorine.
Okay, so there is a minimum standard of chlorine that we have to have in the water.
Yes, ma'am. Coming from the treatment plant.
Okay. So I want to understand, what would be a reason why someone would have lower than 0.2?
Multiple reasons. One, I mean, you have the factors of the house, right? So once the water goes from the meter, so our job at IDEM, right, is making sure that the water that is produced is good in accordance with the Safe Water Drinking Act. Once it gets into the distribution, right, if you're having low pressure and, low residual throughout the distribution, right, that probably means that there's a water line break somewhere. Plus, we'll be able to see within the pressure as well at the system. So that's kind of an easy know where it's at. Once it gets past that meter and it gets into someone's house, then there's so many factors that can come into play with why chlorine residual can go down. You can have a break or a leak within inside the house, right? You can have a water softener, which is pretty common for everybody to have in their house, right? There could be an issue with that. There could be an issue with your own water lines, how things are cleaned and maintained. So it's not just a one size shoe fit all with having a positive sample. That's why when there's a positive sample, the first thing that we do with the municipality is they go and take a repeat sample, right? And following the procedures of sampling to make sure like, okay, hey, was this a one-off? Is this something that's actually going through? And then tracing that and getting a residual. So once you get a residual, right, you kind of can assume that there's not going to be a reason for a bacteria to grow in there because you're having chlorine fed through that line. If you have a stagnant line that's not getting used all the time, right? It's not wine, right? It's not going to get better with age. So if you have an unused line for some time, right, you're going to have over time, your residuals are going to go down. So if you say you have a spigot on the outside, you don't use it all winter, right? There's still pressure up to that point or to that fitting. And then come summertime, you turn it on, right? There's probably going to be, potential for a discoloration or, right off the bat, a low residual. That's why it's very important when someone takes a sample to let it run. You want to get a true of what the actual system is doing, not what is right there. Does that answer your question? And that's an industry standard thing. It's not a whatever, like, here at some point, I'll show the HML sampling procedures, which even says like that. It wants you to run your faucet 2 to 3 minutes before you even take a sample. Disinfect it with bleach or open flame for, I'm not sure on the minutes of the open flame, but I think it's like 3 to 4 seconds with an open flame.
Any other council questions?
I think I do. Like on a lot of our water lines here in town, they're old, the infrastructure's old. Could that contribute to this?
Absolutely. So
Yeah,
you could
I
have,
heard you say something about the pipes and.
yeah. So I mean, even when you have a normal line, right, you're going to have sediment built up
Mhm.
in these lines. So any pressure changes or any flow directional change, right, you're eventually going to break through some of that sediment. Usually happens during when they're doing flushing, when they're flushing the lines, they're trying to break up that sediment and get it to come out. So to minimize that, sometimes that'll kick someone that's at the end of the distribution line. That could end up kicking that person to have a little bit more sediment or that discolor in the water because they're flushing. But that's part of that's what we want. We want to try to flush all that out of the lines as much as possible. But again, that comes down, if you have a discoloration, we have a protocol for that as well on IDEM's website.
Okay, any education or anything regarding like steps going forward? As people have concerns, like what are they supposed to do?
So first, I mean, kind of what we talked about last time, the first thing, if anybody has a concern, the first step would always be to talk to your municipalities. Right? See if there's anything going on, if there's a change, if there's a water line break. there is any change. Once that usually happens, and then if someone comes to us, the first thing that I'm gonna do, if we get a call at IDEM, is that I'm gonna go straight to the municipality operators and like, hey, is there any for any type of situation that goes on? And then once it happens from that, then it's just kind of walking through the, hey, let's do an investigation. Was the sampling procedures done right, or was every step followed, to the T to make sure that we're actually getting true results and not something that could be off different. And making sure that if a testing is done, is like an EPA certified testing. But other than that, it's really just talk to the municipality, have an open communication between them. That's really going to be the most key, asking questions.
What do you mean by EPA certified testing?
So a lot of the home kits that you can buy, like your local stores, are not EPA certified. So they're nice to have, but it's not going to hold when it comes to a regulatory thing. It's not certified. So it has, when you say like, if it's like, we'll use HML. So if HML is a certified lab for the state, they are their own party, but they have to hold a certification through the health department to be able to run these tests and those results.
It sounds like we followed all the procedures with what Mark has done, and I feel secure with what he has done.
Yeah, so those like extra 10 samples, it paints a good picture.
Mm-hmm.
So it went well past what the requirement was for testing throughout the distribution. So it definitely paints a good picture of what the distributions are doing.
Mark has to be, our operators have to be certified. There's like level 1, 2, and 3. And can you speak to like their training that they get for taking samples? Because obviously just the average person isn't going to really be a professional or know that. Can you help us with that a little bit?
Yeah, it is a not easy course. So it is through the state. They have to meet all of our criteria first before they can do anything. A certain amount of hours. They have to take tests. It's not a quick, it's definitely a month, sometimes years process of being able to go from start to finish. It's not a just jump in and, hey, I can do this. It's an actual legit licensing certification through the state saying, hey, you are now responsible for that in every aspect. So it's a very rigorous thing. It's a not fun course.
And there's continuing education that's required to keep their license and maintain their license. It's a training that they go to every year. That would cover things like taking water samples and all of that. That's
Correct.
kind of been that topic.
Mhm.
Okay.
So yeah, it's a very ongoing, because things can change at any point in time from the EPA. They can say, hey, this is a new guideline. Let's try to, and then we're going to try to funnel that information down as much as possible. But we get the same kind of amount of information from there, and having a good communication between us and the operators, pretty key to be able to say, hey, this has changed. We need this or that from you. So.
What does it look like if something would go wrong? What would be our procedure if some sort of testing came back irregular at the water plant? Then what does that look like?
So if there's any sample that is positive, the first thing they're going to do is they're going to get a repeat. But as soon as it gets sent into the lab, then we do that, and then we send out violation letters. And within that violation letter saying, hey, you tested positive for this or that in that area, and then it gives out the entire instructions of what needs to happen after that.
Is there a time limit they have to fill to be compliant?
As in when the
If they
samples
found
need to be.
something, yeah, like.
Correct. So once there's another sample, you want to get that sample within 24 hours. You want to, and then you're looking at your procedures, your process. If it's just coliforms, which is just a fancy word for saying just for bacteria or any type of bacteria in the water, it'll be a repeat, and then we're just going to monitor and kind of figure out what the levels are. If it's an E. coli, then it's going to go and it'll trigger a level 2 assessment, which that would be a level 2 assessor that comes in and will dive into what that issue was. They'll say, hey, this is a positive sample here. Okay, let's backtrace this. Let's find out why and how this happened. So,
Can you speak to boil orders? That topic's come up. And so what would trigger kind of a boil order? We've had a few years ago, water main breaks, pressure goes way down in town. But for the public's sake, can you explain or talk more to what triggers a boil order?
yeah, so a couple things will trigger a boil water advisory. And I have a little PDF pulled up too. So whenever we get ready to show everything, it'll kind of show it on there. But so if pressure gets lost throughout the system and it goes below 20 PSI, that's gonna, trigger a boil water advisory. If you have a main break and they're having to do any kind of maintenance on the lines, that's gonna trigger a boil water advisory. So those are like the two main things that are gonna really trigger that are the most common. Because I mean, it's a multiple thing. And then you even have your town ordinance that you guys that could cause or, it's not just we have our requirements and then you can have whatever you guys want to do on top of that, so.
Whatever you're prepared to show us.
So kind of, they're gonna be questions. That'll be kind of what guides, whatever.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
That makes sense.
Any
I feel like
other
that would be-
council questions? Okay, so we'll invite public speaking, and again, do have public speaking rules, but we invite James Peters to speak.
All right, my time is limited, so my first question is to Mark. Can you please confirm the email receipt of the chlorine logs I requested yesterday? I sent you an email requesting chlorine logs.
You didn't send me an email.
The water, you're the head of the water department.
Really, the public comment procedures say
All
just
right,
have to.
I didn't send you an email. I got 7 business days. If no one responds, we'll go from there. But these are yes or no questions because my time is limited to you, Clint. Is 0.029 milligrams per liter of chlorine in our water considered safe or acceptable by EPA standards? Yes or no, please?
It's not that simple.
It's not.
It's.
Is anything under 0.2 considered safe?
If you're referencing
By
the
EPA.
sample that was taken to HML.
Yes or no, please?
It's not that
My
simple.
time is limited.
That was mine. I'm
Is
sorry.
0.2 considered, less than 0.2 considered unsafe? You already told us in the meeting earlier.
Unsafe
0.2 is-
water triggers a boil water advisory. You're getting into some like.
Is it
That
legal
changed.
to be under 0.2 of chlorine in our system? Yes or no?
It's not that it's legal or it's not, it's what's acceptable.
And what's
Again,
is
what
it
can
acceptable?
you do to bring
See,
that
we're
back
getting-
up?
We don't want to play politics in Alexandria. It's a yes or no question. I'll move on. Is the city of Alexandria required to, and everybody that's listening can see this is politics now. Is the city of Alexandria required to maintain a detectable residual chlorine level in the distribution system under federal or state law? Yes or no?
You don't have to answer anything.
You don't have to.
I mean, You're welcome to
Sure.
if you want to.
Yes or
but
no?
You don't have to.
Yeah,
This
I
is
mean,
just for him to.
Everybody is going through.
Okay, thank you.
Residual.
If water tests positive for E. coli or coliforms, is the city legally required to issue a boil water advisory within 24 hours? Yes or no?
For that specific house,
Just
it comes
in
down
general.
to, it depends on what the level. two
Depends on the
system is.
lateral, correct?
It's not.
And where
a
the-
size shoe fits all. I wish it was, but it's not.
Okay, so they're not required to issue a boil advisory if citizens have E. coli in their water.
In individual house, that's why we do an investigation, whether now it's on the individual's.
Okay, my
responsibility.
time's limited, so let me move forward, please, because you're not gonna answer yes or
2
no.
minutes up.
Would a chlorine reading of 0 in multiple households indicate a system-wide disinfection failure?
Your time is up.
See, my time is up. My time is up. I didn't even get to talk, really. I didn't get to ask my questions. The city understands the silence, okay? They understand.
I personally, I can answer any questions you have afterwards. I'm more than willing to stand by and answer anything that you've got.
But you already proven that you won't answer.
I can show you information and data and to get you to the answer that you want.
Okay, so,
We're playing
my name is
politics
Lisa.
now.
No, he's not. Hold on.
Did you sign up?
James.
Did she sign up that did you-
No, I just tried to, and then it wasn't out there when I, at quarter after
No, I'm
5.
sorry, but we won't be taking any more.
Oh,
public
well, see, it
comment.
wasn't out there when I just went out there at 5:15. I'm sorry, ma'am, it was not out there. No, ma'am, it was not.
I brought it in at
No, Wendy,
5:28.
Wendy, I just went and looked right before this meeting started and it was not out there. It should be out there at least until 5:25. So anybody that comes in, and it was not.
I brought it in at 5:28.
No, you did not. No, you did not. Because I just went out there and looked. No, that is wrong.
Ma'am, for you to get in here, you passed it and you could have signed on your way in.
No.
Just because she pulled it out and because you were sitting in here when I got here and you
You're
sat here
You're
while I
right,
sat
it
here.
was. And then I got
You
up to
sat
go
here
and
until
sign
she
it.
got.
And then I got up to go and sign it because I needed to set up my phone.
Why politics again? And I would.
You know what? Let me just say,
No,
My-
there's no saying.
yeah,
She
well,
can't-
you know what? I have my report of over 200, greater than 200 of chloroform. Okay, and then of it's E. coli. And then the day that you came to my house, okay, I took another sample and took it to HML. It still showed over 200 for chloroform and it showed greater for 76% of E. coli. And then my neighbor to the north of me, just not even 30 feet from my house, she just tested for bacteria also.
So how did,
This is-
how did the scrapyard test negative?
I have no idea, but my neighbor to the north of me,
How did the fire department?
the neighbor north of me, I don't know, maybe there's a line in between us that is messed
I'm
up.
sorry, we have to call for order.
This right here, this how we're getting away with it.
What does that mean?
This is the public water. And it's
No.
normal. Every citizen brings.
Okay, Lynn, do you have anything that you would like to show based on communication that came up that
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one, and this one even I talked to HML just shortly before that, is following the proper testing procedures. That is right here.
No, I need it.
So that's what's pulled up right now is the actual procedures from HML on the actual proper procedures of sampling, right? So you want to be able to disinfect with bleach on your kitchen or a faucet sink. That's really kind of, and letting it run for 2 to 3 minutes and then taking your sample and then taking it to HML. If you don't take it there immediately, then you're gonna have to put it on ice, right? So there is inside the bottle, there's a little powder in there. So when it goes in, it takes out and it counteracts that chlorine that's in the water. So when you're getting a sample, you're getting a sample of what's actually in there. So what in the distribution. So it's,
Can I ask a question?
I mean, if you want to answer a question.
No, not to him. I want to ask one to Mr. Peters.
Not. I don't think that's the procedural we have, because it's your time to talk right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, it's really kind of what it comes down to is that it's a sampling or it's a procedure process, right? I know the last sample that we took or the residuals that we took at the house and the samples there, procedures weren't like they were not followed to what the paper said.
Mine?
That was,
And HML said that?
correct me if I'm wrong, when we were there at your house, you said that you did not disinfect the faucet.
Neither did you, sir.
I did.
You did not, yes, you were testing my water. You tested it for chlorine. You didn't test it for E.
We
coli.
tested it for a residual after letting it run. We
didn't take it.
No, why didn't you take it? Why didn't you?
Because
We can't test for that. The lab
Yes,
has
you can.
to.
I would have gave you permission. You even told me that
Did
you had the
call me?
bottles.
Did you call
You
me
even
back?
told me that you
Did
had
you
the
call
bottles.
me back?
No, I shouldn't have.
I'm sorry.
No.
You should have came there with the
You had
bottles.
chlorine in your residence the night we came to your house. Yes or no?
What was that reading?
We have
The heat of
procedures in
chlorine.
place.
0.09.
0.09. Ooh, on live camera.
And then the one that was from the bathroom is 0.12.
Take a recess.
I mean, I don't know if we could, but I don't think that's gonna solve anything at this point. I mean, we have procedures in place, the procedures have to be followed.
Will you please continue without interruption for the sample collection?
yeah, so again, this is HML's sampling procedure. Right, being able to, one, disinfect the site, right, once you do that, having positive control of the bottle and the lid. Once you disinfect, let it run for 2 to 3 minutes and then fill the bottle to the fill line, cap it, either put it on ice, put it in the fridge, and then wait till they're open and then take that sample in. That is the easiest way to be able to get, and that is for a presence absence sample, not a residual. A residual is only going to tell you what the chlorine level is at that site, not if there's any bacteria or E. coli in the water.
The presence, what, absent?
Presence absence is your whether, so it's a color compator, right? When you put in that little bottle, it goes to HML, they put the cold alert in there and then they incubate it for 24 hours. Once it gets incubated, then they take the sample out and then they read it, whether it's, if it changes colors, then it's presence for coliforms, which is bacteria. And then if it illuminates under black light or UV light, then that's positive for E. coli. That's where your presence absence are.
Okay. Anything else?
That's really what it comes down to, is that and then having a communication with the municipality.
And that was what, I know I probably shouldn't ask the question of Lisa and James, that I'm not sure if you've spoken to the mayor, and I know he's been on vacation. He is the president of the Board of Works as well, which the Board of Works is more over this type of thing as opposed to the council. So if you haven't had a chance, I would really encourage you,
Okay.
because
I
we
appreciate that,
do
Amy.
want to know what is going on. Obviously,
you.
we're
I
drinking
appreciate
the
that.
same water. So if you would please, next step, if you haven't had a chance to talk to the
Sure.
mayor,
Thank
I
you.
feel like that would.
I
be
didn't realize that
something-
he was the president.
He's the president of
Okay.
the Board of Works,
I appreciate that.
and the Board of Works is actually the ones that would oversee
Okay.
more of the utility
Okay.
than the council.
Okay.
So we're more than happy to listen, to hear, to
I
talk
appreciate that.
one-on-one. But honestly, that's going to be, I would think personally, unless I'm incorrect in that, but that would probably be your best step to start.
Anything else? All right, well then we'll conclude, and I appreciate Clint being here and he's
I have a
open to
question.
speaking to
I'm
people, in the, Clint's gonna be open to answering questions after the meeting ends. So you're welcome to stay and ask him your questions, okay?
I'd like to make a quick statement. I just wanted to say a thank you. A lot of community residents, voters, family, friends, even professionals in the industry that do what Clint does, what Mark does around the state have reached out over the last week. I've been very thankful, grateful for all our extra effort and work and trying to see what's going on, and just to reassure everybody that things are good here and we've got good water in town. Historically, a long time ago, I actually got to help Mark do a well test, and we're very fortunate to have good wells. Anderson's even trying to come up and tap more wells into this aquifer. It's a really, really, really high-end aquifer that people around the state are actually kind of wish they had. So I'm grateful for the water we do have. And I just want to say that I appreciate all the calls over the last week or two from things that have just been going on, and people are happy. They're grateful for the work that everybody on this board does and the work we're trying to do to try to show that things are good here. Things aren't what they seem. So I just want to say thank you for people to reach out.
Except for the people that have poison flowing through their water pipelines, right? The meeting is over. We can talk freely now.
Please.
So moved.